Welcome to the channel where we get straight to the point, no fluff. Today's topic: here's how to trigger women's fear of losing you. Now, before you start thinking this is some manipulative tactic, hear me out. The truth is, men often miss one of the most powerful dynamics in relationships: making sure a woman knows she could lose you. Sounds controversial, right? But let me explain why this is not just a power play. It's about creating real, lasting attraction. In relationships, there's a fine line between showing too much interest and maintaining the right level of mystery. If a woman doesn't feel the slightest threat of losing you, she'll likely take you for granted. It's human nature. That fear of losing someone they value triggers something deep inside. A fear of abandonment. A need to keep what they hold dear. And when you use this dynamic strategically, it doesn't just keep her on her toes. It makes her realize your value in a way that goes beyond just being a nice guy. If you think relationships thrive on constant attention, think again. Too much of it, especially without earning it, can push a woman away. That's where the fear of losing you comes in. It's about creating a subtle but undeniable sense of urgency. The question is, how can you tap into that and use it to your advantage? In this video, I'm going to show you the exact steps to make sure that you're the one she's thinking about, constantly wondering if she's doing enough to keep you around. It's not about being cruel or playing games. It's about making sure she sees your value and that you're someone worth fighting for. Ready to dive in? Let's go. 1. Stop praising her so much. Let's start with one of the most misunderstood behaviors men fall into: excessive praise. Now, don't get it twisted. There's nothing wrong with appreciating a woman. But when it becomes constant, predictable, and unearned, it turns into background noise. And worse, it lowers your value in her eyes. Here's the brutal truth. The more you praise her, especially for basic things like her looks or just existing, the more she starts to expect it. It becomes a form of validation she doesn't have to work for, and anything that's given too freely loses its impact. If you're always telling her how beautiful she is, how lucky you are, how amazing she looks every single day, eventually, those words mean nothing. She won't feel excited hearing them. She'll feel entitled to them. And that's when the fear of losing you disappears. You want to flip the dynamic. You want her to crave your validation, not be numb to it. The moment she feels like she already has you wrapped around her finger, she stops chasing, stops putting in effort, and starts seeing you as just another guy who's obsessed with her. That's the fast lane to being taken for granted. Now imagine this instead. You keep your compliments rare, but real. You say something once in a while, but only when it's deserved. She puts in effort for a date. You notice it and say something. She surprises you with support or care. You let her know you appreciate it. That's how you make your words matter. That's how you get her thinking, is he still into me? Did I do something wrong? That little uncertainty? That's the fear of losing you creeping in, and it keeps her invested. Here's what this looks like. You're out together, and she's clearly dressed up and looking good. Instead of the usual, wow, you look so good, like every other guy would say, you keep it cool. You look her over once, give a slight smile and say, nice effort. Then go back to what you were doing. That simple line, it says you noticed, but you're not drooling. You're not desperate. And now she's thinking about that all night. Was that a compliment? Was he impressed or not? And that's exactly what you want. A woman thinking about you is a woman who fears losing you. Bottom line, stop giving constant praise. Make your approval something she earns, not something she expects. That's how you stay in her mind and trigger the fear of losing you without saying a single word about it. 2. Don't always be available. If there's one thing that instantly kills mystery, tension, and attraction, it's being too available. Always answering her texts right away, always picking up her calls, always saying yes to last-minute plans. It might feel like you're being caring or dependable, but what you're actually doing is showing that you have nothing else going on in your life. And the truth is, women don't value a man who's always waiting on them. They value a man who's moving forward, with or without them. Let's be real. If she knows you'll always pick up, always respond, and always make time for her, where's the urgency? Where's the challenge? Where's the sense of importance? The fear of losing you doesn't exist when you're always right there. In fact, you become part of the background, predictable, easy to reach, and even easier to ignore, and no man should ever allow himself to become that. You want to trigger her fear of losing you? Start making her feel your absence. That doesn't mean ghosting her or playing stupid games. It means living your life in a way where she is not your center, where your time is protected, where your energy is focused on things that actually matter. Your mission, your health, your business, your growth. When she sees that you're not always available, she begins to ask questions. Where is he? What's he doing? Why isn't he responding like he usually does? And that, right there, creates emotional tension. That's when she realizes you're not just another guy willing to drop everything for her. Men who are respected and desired don't operate on anyone else's schedule. They have their own plans, and others fit into those plans, not the other way around. If she knows she can't always get access to you, she starts to value every moment she does get. That's how you shift the dynamic. So many guys make the mistake of thinking that consistency means constant availability. But there's a massive difference between being consistent and being needy. You can be consistent in your values, your energy, and your intentions, without being available 24/7. And when she notices that shift, it'll wake her up. She'll realize you're not glued to your phone, not waiting around, and definitely not placing her above your purpose. That little space you create, that's where attraction builds. That's where she starts thinking about you more. That's where the fear of losing you begins to settle in, because she finally understands that you've got a life she's not automatically entitled to. 3. Let her see other women want you. Nothing gets a woman's attention faster than realizing she's not the only one who sees your value. When she knows other women want you, it flips a switch in her brain. Now, she's not just thinking about how much she likes you, she's thinking about how easily she could lose you. And that fear, that's exactly what keeps the attraction alive. Let's be honest, most guys make the mistake of hiding the fact that they're attractive to other women. They downplay it. They act like they're only focused on one girl. But what they don't realize is this. Women are competitive by nature, especially when it comes to men they see as high value. If she thinks no one else is checking for you, she relaxes. She assumes you're safe, you're secure, and that she doesn't need to put in much effort. But the second she senses other women desire you, that's when everything changes. She starts paying more attention to you. She watches how you move, how you talk, how you carry yourself. She starts analyzing things she used to overlook. Suddenly your confidence hits differently. Your silence feels heavier. Your presence becomes more meaningful. Because now, you're not just some guy who's available. You're a man with options. And options create pressure. That pressure creates fear, and that fear keeps her invested. Here's the deeper truth most men don't want to admit. Women don't want a man no one else wants. It's not always about being the best looking or richest guy in the room. It's about energy. When you carry yourself like someone women naturally gravitate to, your girl feels it. She starts to evaluate her own behavior. She starts asking herself, am I doing enough? Does he still choose me? And just like that, she starts fighting for her spot in your life. Now, some men think this is manipulative, but it's not. It's natural psychology. People chase what others want. It validates their own desire. It makes the target more appealing. So when she sees that you're respected, admired, and pursued, even casually, it reminds her of your worth. It forces her to realize she could lose you to someone else if she slips. But here's the key. You don't have to say anything. You don't need to brag or rub it in her face. You just need to live in a way that shows you're not desperate, that you're desirable, that you're not clinging to her approval because you know who you are, and other women see it too. Once that reality settles in her mind, the game shifts. Now, she's no longer the one being chased. She's the one doing the chasing, driven by a quiet fear she can't ignore. 4. Say no without explaining. Let's be clear. A man who can say no without feeling the need to justify it is a man who's in control of his life. And when it comes to triggering a woman's fear of losing you, this is one of the most underrated tools you have. Because the moment you start over-explaining yourself, you're handing over your power. You're telling her, I need you to approve of my decision. And that's the last energy you want to give off. Most guys struggle with this because they've been conditioned to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to always have a valid reason when they say no. But here's the reality. You don't owe explanations for choosing what's best for you. If you don't feel like doing something, you're allowed to simply not do it. No apology, no long story, no emotional speech, just no. That alone communicates strength, confidence, and self-respect. 3 things women find deeply attractive and even a little intimidating. Now, why does this trigger fear in a woman? because it shows her that you're not easily swayed. You're not someone she can push around with guilt or charm. You're not putting her emotions above your own boundaries. That subtle resistance, the ability to hold your ground, reminds her that you're not afraid to walk away if things don't feel right. That's powerful. And that's where the fear of losing you starts to kick in. Women test boundaries, not always in a malicious way, but just to see where the lines are. They want to know what kind of man you are. If every time she pushes, you fold, she loses respect. And the moment respect disappears, so does attraction. But when you say no without flinching, without justifying, without begging her to understand, it sends a very loud message. I am not here to please, I'm here to lead. It's also important to understand this. Silence after your no is part of the strength. The moment you start filling in the gaps, backpedaling, trying to make her feel better about your choice, you lose the tension that makes you attractive. That fear she had of upsetting you, of maybe pushing you too far. It fades. But if you stick to your no, calmly and confidently, she's forced to sit with it, to think about it, to consider that you're not as easy to control as she thought. And that realization? That's what plants the seed of fear. Fear that if she crosses the line, you won't just get upset, you'll leave. That's how a man sets the tone, and that's how you keep her respect without ever raising your voice. 5. Ignore her when she acts. Entitled. One of the biggest mistakes men make is rewarding bad behavior with more attention, and nothing screams bad behavior louder than entitlement. The moment she starts acting like she deserves your time, your money, your energy, without earning any of it, that's when you need to go silent. Because if you don't, you're training her to believe that disrespect equals reward, and that's the beginning of the end for your self-respect. Entitlement shows up in subtle ways. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's a passive-aggressive comment. Sometimes it's that look she gives you when you don't jump to do what she wants. Or maybe it's the cold shoulder she gives you when you prioritize your own plans over hers. Either way, when she starts acting like you owe her, that's the exact moment you need to back off completely. Why does ignoring her in that moment work? Because you're refusing to validate behavior that doesn't deserve a response. When a woman gets ignored for being entitled, she's forced to self-reflect. She starts questioning her approach. She feels that emotional gap. She realizes she might have pushed too far. And now, instead of you chasing her for peace, she's chasing you for your attention. Let's keep it real. If you keep feeding her attention while she's disrespecting you, she'll lose all fear of losing you. She'll think she can act however she wants, and you'll still be there. Still texting, still calling, still planning dates. But when you remove your energy in response to that behavior, it changes the game instantly. Here's how that looks in real life. Let's say you make weekend plans, but then she suddenly expects you to cancel everything because she had a bad day and wants to be pampered. And when you tell her you can't, she gets cold. She starts acting like you're the bad guy. Instead of arguing, explaining, or trying to cheer her up, you say nothing. You go do what you planned. You don't text. You don't check in. You let her sit in that silence. What happens next? She starts thinking, did I go too far? Why isn't he reacting like he used to? Is he pulling away from me? That's where the fear creeps in. That fear of being replaced, of no longer being the center of your world. And now, she's the one trying to fix things. Not because you yelled, not because you begged, but because your silence spoke louder than anything you could have said. Ignoring her when she's acting entitled doesn't mean you're being immature. It means you have standards. And any woman who truly values you will check herself when she sees you're not tolerating disrespect. That's how you train people how to treat you. And that's how you keep your value in her eyes. 6. Walk away when disrespected. This one separates the boys from the men. It's easy to talk about respect. It's easy to say you won't tolerate disrespect. But when it actually happens, when she says something slick, crosses a line, or tests your patience, that's when your response really defines you. If you're serious about holding your value, you have to be willing to walk away. No warning, no emotional breakdown, just walk. Because here's the hard truth. The moment she sees that you'll stay after being disrespected, she stops respecting you. She might still hang around, still smile, still play nice, but underneath it all, something shifts. The tension is gone. The mystery is gone. She knows she can push your boundaries, and you'll still show up. That's when she starts pulling away emotionally. Not because she doesn't like you anymore, but because she doesn't see you as a man who demands respect anymore. Now let's be real. We've all tolerated more than we should have at some point. You don't want to lose her. You're trying to work through things. But what you're really doing is sacrificing your self-worth for comfort. And every time you let disrespect slide, you teach her that your boundaries are flexible, that she can talk to you however she wants, and there'll be no real consequence. That's not strength. That's fear disguised as love. Women notice everything. They know when they're testing you, and they know when you back down. So if she's ever going to fear losing you, she has to know that disrespect is your absolute line. Once she crosses it, she needs to feel your absence, immediately and without warning. That's what gets her attention. That's what makes her reevaluate how she treats you. Walking away doesn't mean being dramatic or trying to teach a lesson. It means removing yourself to protect your peace. You don't explain. You don't argue. You don't try to change her mind. You just leave. Quietly. Confidently. That silence is what teaches the lesson. And it speaks louder than anything you could ever say in a text, call, or long speech. What makes this powerful is that it shows you're a man who values himself more than the relationship. Not in a selfish way, but in a self-respecting way. And that's rare. Most guys will tolerate anything just to keep her close. But when you walk away from what doesn't feel right, you become unforgettable. She remembers the moment you chose your standards over her. That fear of losing you becomes real and it sticks. So never tolerate disrespect, even once. Set the tone early, and if she ever crosses that line, don't flinch. Don't talk. Just disappear. Because your silence and absence are a direct reflection of how much you respect yourself. And that's what keeps your power. 7. Focus on your life, not hers. This one needs to hit different, because far too many men lose themselves the moment they start caring for a woman. Suddenly, it's her schedule, her goals, her emotions, her problems, all while your own life takes a back seat. And you think this is what she wants? You think sacrificing your mission makes you a better man? It doesn't. It makes you forgettable. Let's get something straight. You were born to build, not to orbit around someone else's world. And the more you make a woman the center of your focus, the less she sees you as the man she was first attracted to. Why? Because attraction isn't built on how available or accommodating you are. It's built on your sense of direction, your ambition, and your ability to stay locked into your own purpose. Here's the harsh reality. Most men are too easily distracted. You get a little attention, and suddenly you're skipping workouts, canceling your plans, losing sleep, forgetting your goals. And then you wonder why the dynamic shifts, why she starts acting cold, why the energy is off. It's because you're no longer the man who had his own life. You became a shadow in hers. Wake up. That behavior doesn't make her feel loved. It makes her feel like she's babysitting your self-worth. No woman wants a man who needs her more than he needs his own growth. She wants to be part of your life, not the point of it. She wants to feel like she has to earn your time. Not that she owns it by default. You need to remind yourself daily that your mission comes first, that your routine matters, that your peace, your vision, your energy are too valuable to be handed out so easily. The man she fears losing is the one who's hard to distract, because he's focused. He's driven. He's not asking what she's doing every hour. He's not trying to impress her with constant attention. He's busy becoming something, and that is what keeps her curious. That's what keeps her invested. So if you've fallen into that trap, where your life revolves around hers, it's time to snap out of it. Pull back, refocus, rebuild your routine. Stop trying to fix her moods, and start building your discipline. Stop being emotionally available 24/7, and start being mentally unavailable to anything that doesn't align with your path. The man who lives for a woman loses her. But the man who lives for his mission, he becomes the one she never wants to lose. Focus on your life, not hers. That's how you lead. That's how you grow. And that's how you keep her chasing what she can never fully control. You. Look, here's the truth most men won't admit. The moment you start making a woman your priority is the moment you lose her. It's harsh, but it's real. The more you sacrifice yourself for her, the less she sees in you. And if you think you can outgive a woman's need for attention, you're only fooling yourself. Women respect men who have their own lives, who have their own direction. If you're always available, always bending over backwards, you're not setting boundaries. You're setting yourself up to be forgotten. Now, I know this isn't easy to hear, and I'm sure some of you might disagree, but think about your own experiences. How many times have you put a woman on a pedestal only to watch the attraction fade? It's time to wake up. The man who fears losing his own sense of purpose will never make a woman fear losing him. Comment below with your thoughts, your experiences, your struggles, and let's start a conversation. I'll reach out personally and help you work through it. You don't have to go through this alone. Let's connect and elevate your game together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.